I was just dropping what would appear to be an extremely expensive piece of medical equipment on the counter here. Not really a big deal. We're back. Dr. Jared Salvo's here. He brought okay, look, we're going to lay upon you now some technology, some medical tech. I tell you what, the times we live in, the stuff that we could do now that 20 years ago would have been thought was a pipe dream. It's amazing the stuff that can save and or prolong your life that we have access to that we didn't formerly. We'll show you some right now. Welcome back. It's First Look. We're at News Talk 1180 KRM. We're glad you're here. It's a Friday. That's awesome. And you can watch all this along on your device or your computer while everybody else is working. You don't need to do that. Just go to Bakersfield.com and tune in, and you can watch all this stuff happen. Dr. Salvo, good morning. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me here.
Man, I just love stuff like this. These are, you brought in this new, is it technically a defibrillator?
Yes.
Because when I think of defibrillator, you think of the paddles and clear and like we've seen in movies and stuff.
Yeah, actually, that's the original defibrillator. And Dr. Morawski, who implanted the first one in 1981 in a person.
81.
They thought he was crazy. They said, you're never going to get something smart enough and strong enough to resuscitate a person in their body. And he proved them wrong over 30 years ago.
Well, almost every really huge leap forward in medical technology always started off with, you're nuts, that's never going to work.
Pretty much.
That's just the way it is. And now, what you have here is a couple of, this is what once upon a time, or maybe still, you could get these implanted in your body.
Sure. I've brought an example of a pacemaker here, which is just designed to prevent slow heart rhythm, not deadly heart rhythm, which tends to be a very fast, irregular rhythm. So just as an example how small they've become now. And then the traditional implantable defibrillator that uses wires that go in the blood vessels by your shoulder into your heart under X-ray. We put it in without opening up your chest. This is great tried and true technology, but not for everybody because they have their share of problems. So we've now advanced that for certain people with brand new technology that was just FDA approved, a subcutaneous defibrillator where everything is under the skin, nothing goes in the heart, nothing goes inside the rib cage. So it's nice.
And that is a game changer for a lot of reasons. Now, before we get in, am I correct in that a pacemaker maintains your heart rhythm, a defibrillator restores it when it stops?
Pretty much. What happens is when you have a cardiac arrest, it's electrical death of the heart, and the heart basically quivers in such an unorganized fashion that we say it stops. It really hasn't stopped. It's quivering, and the only thing that can resuscitate it is high voltage electricity. And that's why we have AEDs out in parks and airports now. But if you can identify who's at risk of having that beforehand, you can prevent catastrophic events. So
if you have somebody who's obviously prone to a heart attack due to whatever their condition might happen to be, this attaches over here. The wire bit goes underneath the skin,
right?
And what it monitors your heart, and if it doesn't pick up a heart rate for 2 or 3 seconds or whatnot, it zaps you.
Actually, I'll tell you what. The part that you've just described has been the barrier to this device coming sooner. Being able to detect reliably deadly heart rhythm, and it can be very fine fibrillatory. It looks like a bunch of squiggles, and to be able to make the device reliably recognize that, shock you to resuscitate you, not shock you when it doesn't need to resuscitate you.
That was the part I was
getting. That's a big one. And be successful at restoring rhythm and recognizing that it's restored rhythm. Those are huge, groundbreaking technologies. And this box has a very complex computer in it that recognizes those algorithms. And this has been, 20, 25 years in the making of perfecting that recognition.
Now, once you get this thing hooked up, is this something you have to recharge? What's the battery life on something like this? Do you just plug it into your USB port when you get home?
Yeah, they say that the rechargeable defibrillator and pacemaker technology is out there, but it's somewhere with the car that runs on water that the government doesn't want us to know about.
Right.
Actually, so the battery here lasts between 5 and 7 years. Obviously, the more you use it, the faster.
Yeah, if it has to zap you, that needs a lot of voltage over in a very short period of time.
Exactly. And actually, they've done some studies. If you were to translate each shock that a person would receive, translate it into cost per shock, per the battery life, it's about $200 a shock is what it happens to be. So
well, I imagine when your heart stops, you're probably not worried about the cost of it.
Yeah, put it on my tab, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll make payments or whatever. What an amazing leap in technology. And now obviously it's got a pretty decent amount of computer processing in it because it needs to know I mean, first of all, how long does your heart have to stop before it will zap you?
So the device wants to see sustained deadly heart rhythm. So a lot of us will have it, and it will go away within a matter of seconds. You don't want to be shocked for that. So it's usually going to want to see 16, 20 seconds of sustained deadly heart rhythm, then it's going to act.
Okay.
So, and in 6 seconds of deadly heart rhythm, the average human being will probably pass out first. So the person may not actually feel this or may not recognize that something's happening.
I was going to say, because it can't be that, because I don't know how much, I'm assuming there's some type of capacitor in there that stores it and it's all at once.
Not fun.
No. And that is right, literally, at your heart.
Yes.
I mean, that can't be, but still, again, you're dying. Go ahead. It's going to be a little uncomfortable. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And every second that passes that the heart's quivering, the likelihood of you resuscitating it go down. There are acids that build up, electrolytes, membranes that change in the cells, and it becomes more difficult to resuscitate. That's why in the old days, when you'd have to call an ambulance and wait for them to arrive, they would have to recognize that the person was in deadly heart rhythm and defibrillate them externally. That's maybe 10 minutes on a good day.
Yeah.
And the likelihood after 3 to 4 minutes drops precipitously. So
yeah, because when your heart stops, it's not pumping blood to your brain or to any other part of your body that really needs blood flow.
You're dead.
Yeah. There's that. This is brand new state of the art tech. This just came out.
Yes.
How long before this becomes pretty commonplace? I mean,
well, I would argue that this is here and now. I mean, this was the stuff at university hospitals, and now it's in the community. And this was the first one that we implanted. Well, not this one. I left one in the patient, but we implanted one this Tuesday, and I believe Orange County just implanted one about a month ago. So it's rolling out into the community, and it's becoming widespread. And this is the future, especially for certain people. Young people, for example, where I really want something that's going to last a long time, where I don't have to worry about infection in the heart. And if there's a problem with it, getting this new device out, is much easier than getting one out that's adhered to the heart inside the heart.
Oh, sure. This is so much less invasive.
Yes.
And it is largely external, so that if you do have to have an adjustment or anything done to it, or they don't have to open you up to take it back out or put it back in.
Everything is Wi-Fi, so there's a Wi-Fi antenna in here, and we communicate with the computer wirelessly. And that actually goes true for the old devices as well. We program them wirelessly with a computer programmer.
That is nothing short of amazing.
I remember when my grandfather got a pacemaker. He was fairly young. I think he was probably maybe 60 at the time. And it was just this massive piece in his chest, you know. And I remember seeing him with the shirt off, and this thing would be sticking out up here.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, and then they ended up changing. He had to go in and have it changed, and
well, it's like anything else. Remember the first calculator? It was the size of a shoebox and only did addition and cost $9,000. Yeah. This is, and once this gets, and now it's FDA approved and it's out there. Tales of this are going to spread far and wide, and the knowledge of this. The awareness of this by every physician out there in the world, it's going to spread like an oil slick fire, and every doctor is going to know that this is the latest thing.
Absolutely, and it's not for everyone. Again, this can't. You wouldn't want this if you needed pacing, because to pace through this device through the chest would be painful. It would feel like thumping, as opposed to a traditional pacemaker, which is directly stimulating the heart. So it's not for everyone, but in the right person, where you're trying to prevent a cardiac arrest or resuscitate someone who's at risk. This is really great technology. I'm really.
What is the standard of that? If you come in and at whatever you have to decide who's, like, let's say, prone to a heart attack, which all the standard, they say you're a prime candidate for this. How bad a shape do you have to be in before they're going to prescribe one of these things for you?
The biggest thing that we use is the heart pump function. So when we do an ultrasound of the heart normally pumps between 50 to 70% of its blood with each beat. If you're at 35% or less, that's when we identify that you're at risk of having a sudden cardiac arrest. Doesn't matter if it's from scar tissue, a virus that attacked your heart, whatever reason it might be, 35% is the magic number, and below that, you really should have one of these things implanted.
Right, and you say the battery life on this is about 7 years?
Yeah, 5 to 7 years.
So you go in and they're going to send you an email and say maybe you should come in and do they just replace it altogether or just recharge it?
No, what happens is we check them periodically in the office, and just
that's right, Wi-Fi. You could just come in and go, boop, oh, you're at 78% battery capacity.
It gets even better than that. You actually get a home monitor kit at your bedstand that monitors you 24 hours a day, so that way I've actually had some patients that passed out, got shocked, woke up, and thought they had just passed out. And then I get an alert over broadband to my office saying, Mr. So-and-so, you got shocked. You need to come in. Oh, I guess that explains why I passed out. So
Holy cow.
I've had it happen.
I don't even need one of these, but I want to have one implanted just so I can show it off to people. That, and I'm telling you right now, my wife would threaten to punch me in this. She would absolutely do that.
Well, the other nice thing about this is this gets implanted under your armpit, and a lot of us have a little bit extra fat under there. I don't know if it's less obtrusive there. So
wow,
Yeah.
that this exists in the world, and all these people can monitor this in real time. I'm assuming this is an expensive. The guy who invented this could realistically walk into a Lamborghini dealership right now and feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think he invented Lamborghinis too.
Probably did. Yeah, it's
Dr. Salvo, one quick question for you before we go to break. But I mean, the technology that's evolved in the last just few years, I kind of attribute some of it to the revolution in the phones and some of the accessibility. Are you seeing a lot of that in the medical devices? I mean, just this rapid revolution and getting things smaller, faster, more connected?
Absolutely. They're going hand in hand. For everything that you see when a new iPhone comes out, there's a new device coming out with the next generation. The only difference is that the FDA monitors these and holds them to very high standards. They're not perfect. Actually, if you look by the numbers, the standards are probably higher than what the FAA holds our airlines to.
Wow.
But that being said, there's very rapid growth in this area.
wow. Well, I'm glad this is in the world, and good luck with your. Wow. Wi-Fi, it keeps everybody up to speed on what's. That is an incredible bit of technology. Well, then come back when you can, and bring something else.
Sounds great.
I want to see more of this stuff. I've learned so much about spinal injuries and all that this week. It's like medical school, only it wasn't expensive or tedious in any way. Doc, thanks for coming down. We got to take a break, and don't forget coming up here pretty quick. Oh, wait a minute. He's the last. We could. You want to stay in for another segment?
Sure.
I got some more. Could we do that, Louis?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good, because I have some more questions, and they involve hop. We'll be right back. It's First Look with Scott Cox at Bakersfield.com and News Talk 1180.
He doesn't know about hop.
No, he doesn't need to. No. Dr. Jared Salvo's here, cardiac electrophysicist. And by the way, the question that I wanted to ask him has nothing to do with the electrophysicist part, but I'll bet you he's got a solid answer on this one. And welcome back, by the way, to the First Look program here at News Talk 1180 KRN. If this is all Wi-Fi enabled, and it is, what other applications? There must be a huge bunch of stuff out there in the world. Look, if the Wi-Fi deal, if it can monitor your heart rate and it knows to send an electrical surge into your heart to save your life, the same technology has got to be capable of letting a dose of whatever chemical or whatever. There's a lot of all the stuff that makes your body work. Is that not the new frontier? Is implantable Wi-Fi enabled stuff to keep you alive?
Yeah, we're all going to become Steve Austin.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's the $6 million man, Lewis.
Yes, thank you.
What was his boss's name?
Oscar.
Oscar Goldman.
Yeah, Oscar Goldman.
Fair enough.
Lovely majors.
Yeah. No, if you think about the practical, and we all know how this is going to work. This stuff's going to get smaller and lighter and cheaper and easier to deal with. If you've got a little box here that it attaches here, the wire goes across, goes in under your skin, into your chest.
Not in your chest, just right under the skin.
Well, right next to it does. Yes, not like open heart, but it's like right there under the skin.
Yeah.
It senses some time has gone by. You haven't had a heartbeat, and it sends electrical current. Literally saves your life in real time. What if whatever chemical your body needs that it's not making enough of, whether it's insulin or it could be almost anything? Is that is implantable Wi-Fi technology? That's the future.
Well, we actually already have implantable insulin pumps, and so if you're a reliable person, you can actually have insulin regularly dosed in your abdomen through a device that's implanted just like this, and you refill it through the skin. And but you have to be consistent with that, because if you don't eat and the thing keeps pumping insulin into you, then you could end up with very low blood sugar. But
no kidding.
That technology is here already.
Just that this is available in the world is amazing to me. And just think, because I try to think of all this new technology and how could you use it to cheat at sports, because that's what a lot of medicine is for these days. I'm thinking, what if you get like a Wi-Fi enabled adrenaline pump? So if you're like running down the field and like Richard Sherman's coming right behind you, your coach could push a button and you'd all of a sudden get a little burst of speed. It sounds insane, and it is. but it's not inconceivable, is it?
No, it's not. It certainly could happen, and we have a lot of concerns about human interaction with technology, and certainly the reliability. We want to make sure that whatever we put in someone is reliable.
Right.
And
Is that why the FDA took so long to get this thing out there to you guys? Because they wanted to make sure it was they had to test it long term?
Exactly. In 2003, one of the companies got burned with some technology issues, and ever since that time, the FDA has scrutinized beyond belief every cardiac piece of hardware that comes out.
Well, I'm for that because you got to err on the side of caution, but I don't see the downside to this. If the alternative to this is waiting for the ambulance to show up and hit you with the paddles, I say let's get this thing on the market. There's really very little to lose there. It's not invasive. It solves a lot more problems than it could conceivably cause.
I agree, but I do, as the doctor implanting this, I want to know that when I send my patient out, that I can trust it and make sure that it's reliable and it will save my patient's life.
And this is another you got a whatever volt battery, like a lithium-ion gel battery or something in there. And then you got probably a little bank of capacitors that store that energy up for when you need it. How much voltage does this thing send to your ticker?
So the subcutaneous defibrillator has to deliver 80 joules. So that's a fair amount.
That's car battery jolt.
It's getting up there. As opposed to, say, the paddles that the paramedics use, those use between about 200 joules.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of that energy on the paddles is wasted on the skin.
Yeah, because it's going through your whole, it's getting spread out.
Right.
This is you're putting it right where you need it.
Exactly. But compare that to the one where the wire goes in the heart. You really only need between 15 and 20 joules on those devices. So as you get closer to the heart, you need less electricity. But the downside is you have a wire in your heart.
Yeah, but then there's always an upside to outweigh that. The upside is you have to have a wire in your heart, but you also don't need nearly as much current, and it's something you could carry around with you if you're in a remote area where an ambulance isn't following you around.
Yeah, they actually, kind of along those lines, they actually did a study looking at home defibrillators where people go out and buy their own external defibrillators like you see at the airport, put it in their home. Well, the study didn't pan out very well because one of the biggest problems is if you're home alone and you go down, how do you defibrillate yourself?
Right. Yeah, and like now there's this deal to get them in the little portable unit in all of the high schools and all of that stuff because you don't want people to die from heart attacks. But this is real treatment in real time, and it seems like the cheapest insurance policy. If I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're with the FDA or with a big insurance company, I want my patients to have this.
You would if your goal is in the business of making sure your patients live long, healthy lives.
Right. And the other way you have to look at this, here's how I look at all new medical technology. One, how do we use it to cheat at sports? And then two, what are the lawyers who are let's face it, anytime a new piece of technology comes out, there's going to be not Larry H. Parker, but somebody like that says, if you've got one of these, call us. Because somebody's going to have one of these and they're going to die anyway because it's not a guarantee. Right. And then they're going to come after the people who made this.
I always tell my patients that at some point, even this won't resuscitate you. There will come a time when it's just time.
If you have just a massive coronary event, this is a little electricity. Yeah, because a lot of people die even with the paddles and the ambulance. You do what you can, but I wonder what the percentage is of people that this really is going to save. It's got to be a solid number.
It is, because they actually did those studies in the early 2000s looking at medications versus implanting a defibrillator, and the reduction in mortality with the defibrillator was so strong that they actually had to stop the study because it was unethical to continue the trend of medications, which are pretty worthless at the end of the day. They help, but they can't stop this. And so you bring up the example of Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney has a new heart now. But in 2003, he was one of the very first people in our country to receive a defibrillator prior to having an arrest as a prophylactic defibrillator. And it was right at that time that the big studies were coming out. And now, from 2004 on, we realized that it's better to put this in before a cardiac arrest happens, so you don't.
Obviously, look at the damage they do. I mean, if you could head that off before it happened.
I don't want to give you a pretty abysmal statistic, but if you have a cardiac arrest outside of a hospital without a defibrillator in you, the likelihood of you surviving is less than 10%.
Wow! And this must double that number easily.
It gets way up there in the 60+%.
Oh. That's worth doing right there. Could I have one implanted just recreationally?
Now, in your career, you're like, physician, surgeon, engineer, physicist. I mean, you do it all, right? I mean, it's a very diverse and fascinating kind of area you're in, specialty.
Yeah, I'm a cardiologist who took an interest in heart rhythm. And if you had asked me when I was in college if I was going to be working in physics, I would have said it was not my strongest subject.
Right.
And I hated it. And actually, now I've come to embrace it. So every day I'm dealing with impedances, Ohm's law, electricity, joules. I mean, so it's...
And you get to apply that normally boring science to saving people's lives. You're like Heart Batman.
Yeah. We have some 75 ohm cable in here. We need help running it. Can you help? Just
Sure, no problem. No
Yeah,
problem.
our Wi-Fi keeps resetting over there. If you could take care of that for us, Doc. Seriously, thank you so much I
Great
love
stuff.
this stuff. Get something. Bring us some more of your wonderful toys next
will.
time. You're
I
welcome
will.
here anytime, Dr. Jared Salvo. We got to take a break. We'll come back. We still got news and there's so much other stuff we haven't gotten to yet today, which is kind of good because it's a Friday and you can weigh these things down. But we still got the stuff from the Wayfire and the latest from Ferguson and all that stuff I've been trying to avoid all day. Well, we're about to run out of road in that department, so we'll do that right after this. These things charged up?
Yeah, want to test it?
I was going to say, yeah, let's give it. We'll
Two
give
hands.
it clear. We'll be right. Oh God, that's not that. That's nowhere close to like 110 volt, just standard.
It's getting up there.
How many amps is it though?
That's a good question.
There's only one way to find out.
Yeah, let's test it.
Clear. We'll be right back. It's First Look with Scott Cox. We're at Bakersfield.com, and we are broadcasting and live on the radio as well. We should be at News Talk 1180 KERN.